Hey guys, today is episode number 2 of what goes on behind the scenes in a washer and dryer repairman's life. Today we're going to go over what to carry in your tool bag when you go on service calls. I'm pulling up here to the new shop, and we're going to go in here and we're going to get to it. So yesterday I bought myself a new tool bag. This is my old tool bag. I've emptied it of all the tools. I spread them out. I'm going to show you what I usually carry with me, and it's full of junk right now, so that's just, stuff that accumulated after a bit of time. But I kind of sized up. I thought I was buying the same size tool bag, but I wasn't. But I can deal with the larger one. I can put more junk in it, I suppose. But when you go into a customer's house, you need a good tool bag. That served its purpose, and that's wearing out. You can see the tools are wearing through right here and right here. So I needed to change. So I bought this cobalt bag from Lowe's, and I'm going to fill it up with my tools that I use. And I went through my secondary box, and there's just a bunch of stuff here on the ground that I usually keep in the truck, but I don't carry with me. But I spread all my tools out on here that I take in the customer's house every time. And you always want to use a magnetic tray to keep fasteners in when you take them off of somebody's machine, because you don't want to be losing somebody's parts. Okay, I use a Fluke multimeter, and I have a cheap spare over there. I always use a flashlight. I like this flashlight. I found it at Tractor Supply once. It's a LED type, and you can adjust the head any way you want. I usually use it in this configuration, and it's magnetic, so you can stick it to the side of a machine and shine on what you're working on. Always use a putty knife to open dryers and some washing machines. A little hammer, I need that. Use a pair of channel locks. I use these mostly for taking off water hoses off the back of machines, and I have a spare set. I have all of these because they came in the same set, but I use this one mostly. This one just is a spare, I suppose. I use this a lot in my needle nose. Very rarely use these. I'm considering taking these and these out of my box. There's some electrician's pliers, some side cutters, of course a pair of small channel locks, and these are hose clamps that are very handy to have when you're working on a customer's machine. It's got water in the tub, and you need to work on the water pump. If the drain hose isn't a stiff plastic and it's rubber, you can take those and clip off the water supply from the tub to the pump, and you minimize how much water goes on your customer's floor. I always use this. Take this handy thermometer, and I've marked it out in green. I don't know if you can see that, to the range where most dryers are supposed to go to. I use this extendable magnet a lot because I drop stuff behind machines or inside. Use that quite a bit, and I have a spare one here. These are offset screwdrivers. I've had use for them on several occasions when you can't get a regular size screwdriver in. I have a small file for filing points inside dryer timers, so I don't have a spare timer to sell them. I always keep an assortment of zip ties. There's some small ones in here and some larger ones. Going back across this side of the table, I keep my business cards in the pouch. I keep this socket in there to install motor coupling, so when you put it on the motor, this fits perfectly over that metal piece in there, and then you can drive that down with a hammer. That hammer there. I use this long screwdriver here. Mostly I use that screwdriver like in a G style machine with a lint filter in front. I need to clean it out. You can reach down in there with this long screwdriver and rake some of that lint that's built up out. Now I like to use these Duralast tools, and I stick them in the side of my tool bag because they have these indicators on the ends of them. So when you reach for a tool, if you're looking for a nut driver, That tells you that that hexagon pattern tells you it's a nut driver. It doesn't tell you what size it is. So this is a 1/4 inch. I keep a 1/4 inch and a 5/16, and this is a 1/4 inch stubby. And even on the end of it, you can see the pattern tells you that it's a nut driver when you're looking on the ends of it. So this is I keep a 5/16 and a 1/4 inch. That's the most common fasteners on dryers. And I keep stubbies also, because sometimes you get into places you can't get to. Also, I have a number 2 and a number 1 Phillips head, and you can see the Phillips head pattern is on the end of the tool, and I keep a stubby one of those too. And then you have your standard flathead type screwdrivers, number 1 and number 2, and then I have a stubby for it. I also have these Torx drivers. I bought these when I started working on some machines in an apartment complex, and they had this type of fastener on it, but it was a security fastener, and it needed this hole in the end of it. I don't know if you can see that hole, but it had a pin in the end of the fastener where you couldn't put a regular Torx bit in there. You had to have that hole to get into it, so you can get into those tamper-proof fasteners with these. And I have I bought some of these. These are just different kinds of fastener types. And yesterday I worked on an Electrolux, and it had a fastener. It looks like a Phillips head screw, but if you look closer, it's actually a square bit. So I ordered a tool, a square bit screwdriver, standard size, because I've run into that with some GEs, Electrolux, other things like that. Over here I have an assortment of picks. I use this one mostly, like in when you're changing a Samsung dryer element. The dryer element is sandwiched between 2 shrouds, so you got to have 3 pieces of metal that come together that a screw has to go in, and they never line up. So if you have it apart inside the machine, you have the bottom piece that's in the machine, you lay your element on it, and then you lay the cover on top of that. You need to take a pick, and it's got enough holes in there, and you can get that pick and fish around, and you can line that up so you can get a screw in right beside it, and the same on the other side. So I use that often on those. I keep a first aid kit for Bobos. You get Bobos a lot. Of course, I keep a roll of electrical tape, and this right here is just an odd assortment of fasteners that the worst thing you can do, you'll be working on somebody's front load wash machine, you have the thing all back together, and you're working on top, and you drop a fastener down inside it, and you can't reach it with one of your magnets, and you don't want to take it apart, but you don't want to halfway assemble your customer's machine. So if you have some spare fasteners, that's good. I always keep these with me. There's some customers that when you're working on, you take a hose off and it's leaking and leaking, so you have to change the hose gasket. And I think this is about the same thing. It came in the kit. Now these things are handy for people that don't want to use hot water and they want to plug off the back of their washing machine inlet hoses. You put a cap on it. Of course, I keep an assortment of lid bypasses. This is for big style Whirlpool, smaller style Whirlpool, made in the same fastener. And I think I have a video of how to make these, and that link, I'm gonna put it right up there if you can see it. And also, this is for a Whirlpool type machine, different kind of lid switch, and this is the bypass I made for that. I don't use this often. This is a dryer door door switch bypass. I use this small ratchet rarely, but I have an assortment of bits for it, and I rarely use snap ring pliers, but when you need them, because you just can't do anything with a snap ring without this tool. I have these strippers and crimpers for splicing wires. And this right here, I use these often. I have two different assortments of hexagonal Allen wrenches, a larger size and the smaller size. And I have also metric sockets, and when you get the machine that has a metric bolt and you don't have it, I use these. And here's some ASE or SAE sockets, and here's some more torque bits. And I found these after I bought those, but these also are used to bypass the security features on a Torx head fasteners that have that post in the middle of it. You have those holes in it. With these nut drivers here, I needed some nut drivers that were a little bigger. I bought a set of them. I don't use the whole set, and this one is kind of a orphan in this bunch, but it wound up in my toolbox some kind of way. Also, this right here, this ratchet has a swiveling head on it. I use it a lot in the field, and I keep a 7/16 socket on this extension. That swivel head is nice to have in tight places. So yeah, I use this to take agitators out, and I also keep this 1/2" socket, and I keep a 1/2" socket here for taking transmissions loose. So basically, you just need the 7/16 and the 1/2" with extensions, and I keep both of those. I keep a big crescent wrench for when I need it, and a smaller crescent wrench, and I need that quite a bit. This 7/16" wrench is what I keep in there to take off dryer motor pulleys. That will fit on there's a little flat spot in the shaft. This fits on it, and then you can get this or this onto your dryer pulley to take it loose. Anyway, that's what I bring to the customer's home, and I try to fit that into this one bag. Also, this piece of hose here, I usually keep that in my toolbox too. And this piece of hose, if you're having problems, your customer says the machine won't agitate, and you don't want to fill it up with water, because you know the timer's not going to let it agitate unless it can feel the pressure. So you can take this hose with you and undo the same type of hose from the pressure valve or the pressure sensor or switch on the machine. When you rotate the head up, you can take this and put it on there and blow through it and simulate water in the tub, and you can tell if it's agitating or not, like they said, or oftentimes it's some other problem. But you can test the agitator with this hose, and I keep it in the box with me because I use it not quite often, but it's nice to have when you need it. And all the other spillover stuff is all this right here. I have a separate box for that. I need to clean it out today. I have spare multimeters. I have a variety of lubricants, extra flashlight. There's some wire splices, and I have an assortment of drills and files and a little saw. Just stuff that I've accumulated. There is one thing I keep in my box I didn't put on the table, and I don't see it in this pile. I saw it a while ago. I had it in my, here it is. This is the 7/16". This is called the spiral bolt extraction set. These things work wonderfully. This is the one I keep in my toolbox, and if you ever have an agitator bolt that's stuck, this is what you use. Okay, so the tools that I use most often, I'm gonna put on the outside of the box or the bag. And the tools I use most often are my nut drivers. Let's put those in there. And I'll put the stubbies right in the front. And my screwdrivers. Usually I use the Phillips head first, and the standard slotted screwdrivers I use less often. So I have all these nut drivers here, and then I have this type here. So where should I put these? I would imagine I would put them in with these other nut drivers. And these pockets on this Toolbag are fairly large. And I like to put my putty knife inside. I like to put that in a pocket where I know right where it is. And where are my pliers? I'm going to put them there. Now, side cutters go separate. These I'm going to put in the bottom. I don't use these often. Since I don't use that often, I'm going to put in the bottom of the tool bag. A hammer. I use my screwdriver. I use this flashlight every time I go anywhere, so I'm gonna put it in a pocket. Now these things can go on the bottom, and they can go all together on one end. And I have I don't know if I mentioned it, I have a tape measure. I'm going to put it down here in this pocket. And it doesn't matter how organized you get these things, eventually they're going to get all messed up again. I'll put that there, put this in the bottom. And I take my business cards. Business cards should go in a pocket by themselves. I always put them on the end somewhere. I give out business cards almost every time that I go to a customer's house, unless they already have one. Now these things go in their own little case. And these picks, they will go by themselves, and I always put the points down so I don't stick myself. I put my extending magnets by themselves, and these I usually put along with my other screwdrivers. These are precision screwdrivers. I don't usually have much use for them, so I usually put those in the other box. Now, my sockets that are loose, I'm going to put in this middle spot, and also this extractor. I put my thermometer over there, my little file right there. My tape I'm going to put here on the outside. Now this is sometimes the first thing I grab, so it's just going to sit down in here. This is an assortment of fasteners and all. And I'll put them down in here so I can grab them. I need to know where these are. I use these all the time. I'm going to put them in a front pocket, because that's where they were on the other. And this is, I just drop it in, and there's I should put that on the bottom. There we go. So this deal here. I'll wrap it up tight enough. I put a loose zip tie on it. I'll stick it in that center pocket right there. I'm going to, for now, until I get a jar, I'm just going to put those right there, and I'll stick that in the middle, and I'll get something to, you know what I can do, because I don't use this often. I'll just take a zip tie, a long zip tie. Very rarely do I need this. I bought it one time for some reason. I'm going to put all these sockets on this zip tie, and if I ever need them, I'll cut the zip tie. And running into sockets with a hole in it's too small. There we go. For these real small ones, I'll have to get a small zip tie. Like this, perhaps. Let's see if that'll fit. Yep, that does. And I'll put this zip tie around this zip tie. Now I have all my sockets in one place. If I need those, I'll just cut the zip tie off and rearrange it. Talking about zip ties, I'm going to just drop these in here in the bottom. Now I've got just about everything I need in here, and what happens most of the time is all that stuff eventually gets full of junk and trash, like you saw that I took out of this thing. But anyway, that's my new tool bag that I'll be taking on service calls. It's not that heavy, and usually when you go in someone's house and you have this, you have everything you need right here in one place. And the way I usually work, I'll put this to my right side because I'm right-handed, and all the tools that I usually use are right here. If I go into a customer's house and I need to change a dryer belt, first thing I grab is that, and I pull the lint filter out, 2 screws, throw that in there, and I grab my putty knife, pop 2 clips, open the lid, reach over, I grab 5/16, take out 2 screws, drop them in my magnetic tray, reach in, take the old belt out, take the front off, take the old belt off, reach in, put a new belt on, I'm through. Easy peasy. That's what you need to go on service calls. That's what I need. And you may differ. A lot of people like to use drills and things like that, but I'm old-fashioned. Drills, you got to charge batteries and things like that. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Chip out.